everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to have a Niffler episode from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to check it out. So after the t-shirt, I will make another Niffler project, but let's start with the t-shirt first. Start with either wooden board or a thick cardboard board, whatever you have at home. And you're going to tread on a dark t-shirt. You don't have to have black t-shirt, you can always have dark green or burgundy, or maybe your house colors from Ilvermorny or Hogwarts. And then you're just going to tread on your t-shirt until it's nice and flat on the top. Sorry for the angle. And when it's on here, nice and tight, you're going to outline your design with some chalk. I have a design of the Niffler here that I want on, and you're just going to start on by drawing on the design. So now the t-shirt is finished. I'm going to dry it for 12 hours before I iron fix it on the reverse side on cotton setting. And let's move on to the other DIY. Okay, so now I found an old Easter egg made out of cardboard. I painted it black both on the inside and the outside. And I've gone ahead marking a stripe on the top of one part and marking out a stripe going all the way on the bottom part on the other side. And now I'm gonna put them together. I'm not gonna put them together. First I'm gonna cut them. And now I'm gonna cut off the bottom part of the other egg. This is where we can open later on and take out the money. So the Niffler is not gonna keep all your money forever, even though he perhaps probably want to. But yeah, be careful. You should probably have a new blade for this, or else if it's a dull blade, the odds of cutting yourself increases. I'm gonna go ahead and glue it with some super glue. Be careful not to glue your hands, because that is painful. And then try to get it in the right position right away, because the glue might attach immediately. You never know. Okay, so I've gone ahead and started making the arms out of aluminum foil. So I've glued them on. And I started off with some aluminum foil, and I'm going to curl them up in a similar way I'm going to do now for the tail. And I did the same for all the parts. This is the head that I'm going to glue on as well. And these are the legs. So I'm going to show with this one piece how my process were on the other pieces. Excuse all the sound, but I went in and folded the edges to clean it up first, so that you have a square that is pretty the size you want it. And I want to figure out the length of the tail compared to the body, and I would say, looking at pictures, that is roughly the length of one arm. So I should probably have this length. So I'm gonna fold it once more, and I'm just gonna curl it up. Now, since the tail is curled in the end, first of all, I want to squeeze down the part that's going to be glued onto the finger. And on the other side, I want to curl the edges so it gets a more round look, since the tail is sort of like a beaver tail but with fur. And you want this to be pretty hard so it doesn't mold around after you put the clay on. I might have to make a shorter one, then I'm just going to fold it in. But first of all, I'm going to glue on the legs so it's easier for me to see the length of the tail. So I'm just taking some super glue. Super glue will survive in the oven because we're going to bake this later on. Hopefully the paint will too. I don't know yet. It's an experiment. So the leg on this side with the arm sticking out, I want to have it going a little bit forwards. So, and the other one I want to have a little bit backwards. So now I'm going ahead and glued on the tail. It was a little bit too big earlier, but I tried to. So now this and the legs is acting as 3 legs. And with all these parts, you want to make sure that they're a little bit tinier and skinnier than what you want in the end. Since you're going to put clay on the outside, you're always going to be a little bit bigger than what you're making them in the aluminum foil. You just have to think it's like a skeleton for the figure. So now I'm just gonna try to figure out where I want. I think this is a good position. So now I'm starting with the clay, and I warmed it up a little bit with my fingers, and I've added some Vaseline because it was old, so I had to soften it up. So I softened up quite a lot of clay for this project. So I'm gonna start by putting on clay around the legs since they are a little bit wobbly and I don't want them to fall off. So I want to start with supporting them with clay. I have my tool here and I just want to start squeezing the clay on the back side of the leg and into the crevices of the leg. So now I just tried to squeeze on some clay on the legs. I've been avoiding this hole right here so I still can put in the bottom part later on. And now I'm just going to proceed doing the same thing. Pressing on clay onto the figure itself and the extra limbs. So, but it's the same process over and over and over again until you cover the entire thing with clay. And then we're going to go on over to sculpting. So now I am ready with the rough shape. And I'm going to start sculpting on the head and work myself downwards. So first of all, I just want to find the nostrils. And I'm just going to poke 2 holes into it. I might change them up a little bit later, but as of now, I'm just going to poke them out. And then I'm going to move on and make the incision. That's going to be the mouth. It's a bit difficult to see, but I'm just pressing the tool inwards and doing small parts. I want this shape, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then by looking on the reference picture, I'm going to outline where I want the eyes to go. I see now that the eyes are almost where the beak ends. So I want to try and make them even more further out. Because, like I said, they go a little bit to the sides. So I'm just going to push this eye a little bit towards the other end. So now I'm happy with the face. As you can see, the eyes are almost at the edge of the beak on each side. They're pretty small. And you can see the 2 nostrils and the mouth going a little bit upwards in the front. And then on the sides, it goes continuous as a smile and then goes down to a little bit of frown. And then I'm going to continue on making the texture of his hair. I'm starting the hands off by cutting a little thumb, and I'm gonna sculpt that. It's a little bit long. I'm just gonna drag it out because it was a little bit too thick. And I'm just gonna point it and start squeezing it underneath. And then for the remainder fingers, I'm gonna cut some indents. We have 4 top fingers to work on. The thumb is still underneath there. And you just wanna try to squeeze them into some sausages with some pointed ends. This hand is, if I turn it around to this side, is sort of holding upwards, like he's about to grab something. My hands are so dirty. So now when I'm done with that, I'm just going to continue the texture I have on the head, which is just simple lines, dragging it downwards towards the end of the body, and I'm just going to cover it completely with this. So now I've dragged the lines from the head all the way down to the tip of the feet. So I didn't drag lines on the beak and I didn't draw lines on the hands, but other than that, it's completely covered with stripes and lines. Now I'm going to put it in the oven and it's going to bake there for 30 minutes. And then I'm going to go back and add the feet afterwards and then bake it one more time after that. Okay, this has now been in the oven for 30 minutes. Yes, my clothes are different. I went to sleep last night, so I'm going to continue today. So now I've added on a foot after it has been baked once. And I'm going to add on some more details now before I'm going to bake it a second time. So now I'm taking a piece like this. I'm trying to shape it out as a sock with 2 split ends. And I'm just going to attach that on to the figure. I've sized it up compared to the other foot I just made. And I'm going to start squeezing it on the already baked figure. Okay, so now I've attached the foot onto the body and I'm just going to continue the lines I made before I baked it and drag them a little bit down on the foot. And it might be easier to drag them from the hard part down to the foot. I'm just going to do this all the way around. Then we're going to make some toes. And they have 5 toes, just like humans. So I'm just going to do 4 cuts. Some of them are a little bit. And then cut off and make them into small triangles. You just want to alternate in between cutting off pieces and tweaking them around with a tool until you see a result that you like. So all the sculpting is done. It's now been in the oven for a second time so that the extra parts we put on the hands and the feet and everything is now the same consistency as the rest. It's all baked. So now we're going to paint it. I'm going to start off with painting the body with some gray mixed black. I'm going to take pieces off. But I mixed some white and a little bit of brown into some black just to lighten up the color of it a little bit. So now I'm pretty much done with the first layer of the dark, and now I'm gonna add a little bit of a lighter gray on top of his head because it looks like on my reference pictures that it almost looks like silver in a way on top of his head in this area, but you don't want to get it down into the details, just brush it on top. Add a little bit more white and just brush it on like so. It's a little bit difficult to see, but this color here is what I'm gonna base coat the beak and hands and feet with. It's a mix out of pinkish red, a tiny smidge of black, some white, some ochre yellow, and a little bit of like warm orange brown. So I'm just gonna start and cover the beak and hands and feet with this color. Okay, so first I want to start off with another color on the hands and feet because they're a little bit darker than what I just painted. And you just want to go over it with this color. And still it's a little bit too warm, so I have to tone it down with more black and cool toned colors. And so now I'm just gonna make an ombre effect from the tip of the beak onto where his eyes are. So now I'm just gonna sponge on some dark around the edges of where I painted. I just want to be really careful not to get too much black on the details. So, and that's just to get a better transition between the light and dark colors. That looks a little bit like fur. So now I just sponged on some black in this area as well because he's a little bit dark there in the movie, and I sponged on the edge. Additionally, I painted the eyes black. I'm gonna add some shiny nail polish later on to make them all glistening. And I just added some brown into his mouth. Now I'm gonna sponge on the transition on the hand with some dark colors as well. I'm just gonna do that until I'm happy with the result. This is a mix out of black and brown. So now I'm done brushing on some brown on the hands and feet, and now I put some nail polish, some shiny nail polish into the eyes so it's a little bit sparkly. And that's pretty much it. The Niffler is done and he can start to save your money for you.